Hi, good morning. Welcome to my commentary on sustainability modeling lecture number 6. In this lecture, it's pretty interesting because we look at population-nature interactions. If you look at what we've been doing throughout the class, we started with single stock models like the human body, and we move on to population, still single stock. Um, Last lecture we looked at sort of population interactions when we have more than one type of population interacting. So this week we're going to be looking at the interaction also, so dual stock, but we're going to be looking at population nature interaction. So one of the stocks is a natural stock. And natural stocks have the key characteristic that there's a trade-off between the way they're consumed by the interaction with population and the way they're regenerated. So, for example, trees have the ability to grow again. Um, if there's a stock like water, the hydrologic cycle will bring it back. Will bring it back seasonally, and other stocks sort of behave in a similar fashion. So some stocks sort of have that tendency to regenerate, and that trade-off between consumption and regeneration is what generates the sustainability question. When population is a consuming agent. So we look at population-nature interactions here through essentially two case studies. The first one is the Kaibab Plateau, which is a fairly well-known study or case that has been studied for a while that has to do with deer food interactions in the Kaibab Plateau, which is in northern Arizona. And it's an interesting case of when the deer population sort of overshoots and grows too fast because of an intervention that was made. Then that has an impact on the food supply, which in turn goes back and affects the deer population. So I'm going to let you look at that to see how those dynamics shake out. The second case is probably even more interesting because of its sort of historical perspective, which is the collapse of the Mayan population. This has been very well studied, well documented. Still probably not solved completely, although several hypotheses have been thrown out about how perhaps the most advanced civilization in the American continent, pre in pre-Columbine in the pre-Columbine era, how a multiple million people population collapsed completely and disappeared over a period of decades, and actually it never population in that location in in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and also going down towards Central America, how that population never recovered for centuries. It's kind of one of those enigmas that's been out there. And the nice thing about what we do in this lecture is that we study that through a very simple Venn model and come up with some sensible explanations that are you can quantitatively test. So I want you to look at that as well. Um, we end up the lecture with a sort of a generalized population nature um, Benson model for an interaction between these two stocks that we're going to use to sort of build on adding more components, more complexity, for the remainder of the class. So I hope you can take a look at those. Um, so that's about the lecture. In terms of going back to class logistics, I'm going to be emailing probably later today or tomorrow some a little bit more detailed instructions as to the different parts of the grading for the class. We have a midterm which I've already told you is going to be essentially a blog post where you will pose a sustainability problem that you'll approach using modeling. So I'm going to email that, but I want sort of to this class to sort of build the story. So you're going to use the midterm part of it to sort of set up the story. You're going to write a term paper, which is the development of, the sort of the end part of the story, and then I want you to, in your final exam, to present it and to show the results. So I'll send you some instructions, which will also contain some key deadlines and dates that you need to pay attention to. Just hit me that we're already in March. Time flies. Also, I've I'd like to see a little bit more traffic on our Facebook group page in terms of discussions. This last week was a little bit slow. I didn't see a whole lot of interaction, so I want to make sure that that you guys continue discussing, that you continue bringing in materials. In this lecture, I left open a couple of questions, and you'll see that in the class videos that I want you to respond to in the class discussion, and put some of your thoughts there. Bring some references. Look at the readings for this class. The readings for this particular lecture are quite interesting, so I want you to do those and comment. So, with that said, I hope you enjoy the lecture and enjoy the week. Okay, I'll see you next time. Take care.